Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zachary Nolan. Welcome back. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. I make YouTube videos about the Winnipeg Jets. I cover every single game, including the one tomorrow. I normally wasn't going to make this video, but recent reports have forced my hand, and also the fact that the Jets don't play for 3 fucking days. It's a little long, but yes, if this is your first time tuning in, please subscribe. Appreciate it. Join the community that we are building here. If you're a returning viewer, hi. Nice to see you again. So, let's get into this, shall we? The Winnipeg Jets are intriguing. They are kicking tires on Jakob Chychrun. And that is a fun prospect. Because in my opinion, Jakob Chychrun remains probably the main defenseman of... at least the main defenseman out there that really fits perfectly the Winnipeg Jets' needs. So let's first talk about this. The Ottawa Senators took a lot of flyers out on guys this year, and in the hopes of finally getting over the hump and being a playoff team. That has not happened at all, actually. And if we're honest, in a couple weeks, we could talk about, is Vladimir Tarasenko going to be a Jet? That question could remain as well. The fact is, however, is right now, there are a lot of teams out there that are trying to put out bulletin boards, shall we say, on selling their players at the deadline. However, it's worth noting, most of these offers are really stupid. Or at least inflated. Because teams are just being like, what do you want? What do you want from Monahan? I'd like a first-round pick, a high draft, a high prospect, and a secondary. It's like, really? For a guy past his prime? Okay. But Jakob Chychrun is not one of those people. No. Jakob Chychrun is in his prime right now, arguably, or about to hit it. He's not the most defensive-minded defenseman on the Ottawa Senators. It's worth noting the Ottawa Senators just got to the point where they're like, we are re-signing Thomas Chabot. You're not touching Chabot. However, they still have yet to really get any confirmation past Jakob Chychrun. And Jakob Chychrun was expecting this Senators team to be very good. They are not. They are very bad still. I say this with the knowledge that in less than 24 hours, your Winnipeg Jets play against Jakob Chychrun and the Ottawa Senators and could very well get smoked by them, in which case I would be eating a pile of shit, and that would hurt. I'm hoping that does not happen. We win handily, and life goes on. The Jets have had scouts all over the place, and Ottawa is obviously one of them. Jakob Chychrun intrigues me, though. He's very smart offensively. Defensively, he's not great, but this team is built around that. This team is built around fixing any defensive issues that you have and working with them. That being said, the things that are really fun to me are power play. He's a very good analytical power play defenseman. And that is what we need, especially on the second pairing. If we could have him and Pionk there instead of Nate Schmidt, I would be so happy. Ideally, if the Jets can pull this off, this is what the defense pairs look like. Morrissey DeMello, then you have Dylan Chychrun, and then you have Samberg and Pionk. And I think that is a cup caliber depth for your defensive chart. Because you have the top two pair, the great guy. You got the fucking ring general, Josh Morrissey, with a guy who keeps him honest in Dylan DeMello. You have a guy who's been a workhorse this year in Brendan Dillon, and a blossoming star defenseman in Jakob Chychrun, who's very under the radar in terms of ratings. Then on the third pair, you have a young upstart in Dylan Samberg, and a guy who's a little bit chaotic, but has really found a better version of his game this year, especially compared to last year with Neil Pionk. Now, what's the price? This is where I think the Winnipeg Jets have a couple legs up on people. So, there's 4 prospects that I imagine are being mostly looked at in the Winnipeg Jets organization. Those 4 go as follows: Chaz Lucius, Rutger McGroarty, Colby Barlow, and Brad Lambert. Now, if the Jets are going balls to the walls here, I think 3 out of those 4 are on the table. I think Barlow, Lambert, and Lucius are on the table. Not in one trade, obviously, but in separate trades. I think the only untouchable prospect that you have to go sit there and be like, you can't have him no matter what, is Rutger McGroarty. I love Brad Lambert, but Rutger McGroarty has been an absolute standout in college and in the World Juniors. I think amazing too. He's going to fit in perfectly on this team. We have to give him time. Now, Brad Lambert has shown flashes of greatness in the AHL, but still can't do it all himself, which is pretty much what he's trying to do in the AHL. That being said, we do have a good replacement for Brad Lambert in the AHL as well, and that is Nikita Chibrikov, who I don't think is anybody's asking about, which is good, because I want him. I want him to stay here. Now, Colby Barlow could be a great prospect for the Winnipeg Jets, but we don't know that. We don't know when he's going to hit his stride. We don't know how long that's going to take. He's still very young. He's still at least 2 to 3 years away from even playing as a Winnipeg Jet. So throwing him away for a guy who could help us on a deep playoff run, I understand. The big one I want to move, though, is Chaz Lucius. I don't mean to come off as rude to Chaz Lucius. He's a great player, but he cannot stay healthy. He's injured right now with the Manitoba Moose. He would be up there and scoring with the Manitoba Moose probably if he was healthy enough to play the games there. Instead, they're having to rely on other guys like Jeff Malott, oh God, and Wyatt Bongiovanni to get points instead. He's just a flight risk at this point. He hasn't stayed healthy a single season in the AHL. They brought him down to the WHL last year to get more conditioning in, and he got injured there. So I don't want to say he's a lost prospect, but he still has that high value, and he hasn't been the best at changing his play style to a sense that he's not getting injured all the time. So I think he's a perfect fit to be used in that trade. Now, what else will that cost? It'll cost this year's first-round pick. For the record, I don't think there is a hope and a prayer that the Winnipeg Jets keep a first-round pick this year. I don't want them to. If the Jets have kept a first-round pick this year, that means they didn't do enough. That means that there were more trades to make, and you didn't take it. And I think Chevy understands that his career is possibly on the line if he doesn't go all out. Last year, what was the biggest thing that we got mad at? Well, other than the pushback on the team, which has been adjusted because people are buying the fuck into what Rick Bowness is selling, is that Chevy went out and he had great acquisitions. All of his acquisitions hit. Nemesnikov, awesome. Niederreiter, great. But he didn't do a lot. He didn't make enough of them. Now, granted, this offseason he doubled down on those signings, and that's great, but he needs to do more. He needs to make trades with that first-round pick. So you're moving a first-round pick, Chaz Lucius. Now, what's the third piece in there? This is where it gets fun, because it could be anything. It could be the conditional second-round pick that we have. It could be the now confirmed second-round pick that we have from Montreal this year, which would mean that we'd only be drafting in rounds 3 to 7. But I don't give a shit. I want to go deep in this playoff round, in the playoffs this year. I want a cup, God damn it. But what that could also entail is maybe a mid-round pick in future years, and it could mean a lower-end prospect. So, for example, it could mean we have to trade Declan Chisholm. I'm okay with that, because Declan Chisholm and Ville Heinola, in my opinion, are two sides of the same coin. If you get rid of one, the other will take its place. If you get rid of the other, that one will take its place. And I'm fine with that. Neither have been able to prove their NHL caliber yet, but they've both proven that they are definitely high-tier AHLers. So you're fine in that regard. But who I kind of want to move is either Mason Appleton, who, let's be honest, he's having a good year, but he's showed that he's kind of being carried by his two line mates. But the big one that needs to go, the big one, is Logan Stanley. I need Logan Stanley gone. And he has first-round pedigree, and he shows, and he has a physicalness to the game that teams could be enticed by. I just need him gone, because he's this big fucking roadblock, literally, in our defensive scheme that I can't work around. And they're going to have to work around it soon, because when Mark Scheifele comes back from day-to-day injury, and David Gustafson inevitably comes back, they're going to need to drop people to waivers. And that's where we could lose people for nothing. So the decision has to be made sooner or later. Again, I can't stress this enough. I want Jakob Chychrun. I need to hear your guys' thoughts, though. Who do you want to give up? Who do you want to get? And what do you think is going to happen? Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time, which will be tomorrow when your Winnipeg Jets play the Ottawa Senators.